Hello, everyone. Today we have Camille Greenstein. She is from A Delicate Balance Acupuncture Practice. And actually, you know what? I always do this. I introduce people, but I like for the guests to introduce themselves. So, Camille, say who you are, what you do, what makes you different in 60 seconds. And then we also want to know what you feel your superpower is.
Cool. My name is Camille Greenstein, as you said, and I do run A Delicate Balance. It's acupuncture and herbal medicine. So I'm based in Chinese medicine, so that's more my approach. But I come from a background of being a professional dancer and aerialist. I also worked as an art therapist and a personal trainer, yoga teacher. I've kind of like meandered my way to where I am. So I have body knowledge, energy knowledge, and also the Chinese medicine practice. I think my superpower is I'm always like 100% dedicated to finding results. It doesn't mean it works out exactly the way I want, but I definitely I won't stop trying.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I use all my tools.
I love that. So we have a determined person with us today. I love that. Um, I actually didn't know your background that was that extensive in terms of being an athlete as a dancer, working in fitness,
Hmm.
learning more about traditional Chinese medicine and healing. Can you tell us a little bit more about what made you get into the work you're doing today?
Yeah. Well, it started, I mean, I think I've always known when I was younger that I wanted to, at some point, help people. Like it just feels like something that comes natural to me. But when I was younger, I was also really into the arts. And I also really had this need to perform and sort of explore that creative outlet fully. So I think after about 15, 20 years of it, I was just kind of like, okay, like now is time to like start heading in the other direction. And it kind of just meandered there. Like if you told me that's where I'd wind up, I wouldn't have expected that. But yeah, it just kind of like just meandered to that to where I am now. And it just all feels really good and natural and it all fits together.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
the body is such a holistic organism, right? There's so many systems, so many things that need to work in harmony, not in isolation.
Yeah.
Um, when you think about the work you do right now, and I know you have a niche focus on perimenopause, menopausal woman,
Hmm.
why is working with this demographic important to you?
I It's really it's not where I started. I was doing a lot of fertility stuff and I do obviously a lot of physical pain stuff because that's what most people know acupuncture for. But I'm going through perimenopause right now. And during the pandemic, I think because of the stress and the anxiety and just the general sort of life pressures we had, for a lot of women who were just starting to head in there, it kind of exacerbated the problems. And I
Mm.
worked straight through and I felt like uh there was like all these things happening and I was like, what is this? And like we couldn't figure out. It could be anything from anxiety that's popping up with insomnia to like the insomnia to like anything basically. Um and I just only through my own experience of starting to go through perimenopause realized I was like, oh wow, this is like not just some random anxiety thing. This is like her hormones are unbalanced. And like, what can we do to like when we reframe it and put in that? I feel like that really helped. It helped a lot of my clients feel better about themselves. Uh, and so like it kind of like got me going. And once I realized some of the symptoms I was experiencing and the things I was experiencing weren't something wrong with me because I obviously tried everything on myself. And I was like, why am I not getting better? Like I don't understand. And once I realized it had to do with perimenopause and things that I just can't change fully, but I can embrace and sort of adjust to, um, that really helped me feel better about myself and feel like less frustrated.
Yeah, well, way to use yourself as a little science experiment and also help people who are experiencing the same things you are. When you say learn to embrace and work through perimenopause, like what does that actually look like?
I think it looks very different for everybody, to be honest. I don't think there's one path for me. I've always been very strong and physically adept and healthy. I think like pretty lucky with my health, and uh I feel like there's a point when like things start changing where like I have to sleep more, and I'm tired more, and I had to adjust how I work out and what I do. Uh and instead of like being frustrated, because I do meet lots of women who are very frustrated with the fact that they can't be that person. They're fighting it. And I feel like the embracing it makes it just easier. And like there's lots of great things. It's like you're kind of sitting into your wisdom, and like it's yeah, like there's less, I mean, right now there's lots of waves of hormones, but like at some point, like you'll just have like all the wisdom without all the cycles. So it should be good.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about what you mean by wisdom?
Again, I think it's individual, but the wisdom of no being in your body for a long time. So I think when I was younger, like you're always trying to fit in or like try to do things and like kind of get somewhere, or be part of things and get noticed. Whereas I think now I feel a little bit more comfortable not being that. Like my wisdom is like I can be me, and I can be okay with like these changes, and I don't have to look like I'm 20, and I don't have to act like I'm 20. And frankly, I probably do anyways, but like I'm not trying. I'm just being like authentically myself. And I think that's the wisdom of knowing when not to go and do things because I'm tired, and sharing that with women. I think that's really important. I feel like that's the
Yeah.
most important thing.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I do feel so, perimenopause can start sometimes 30s and early
Yeah.
40s, right? So with
Hmm.
that, I do feel even women in their 20s, you're technically in a pre-menopause state if you want to label these different life stages. I'm really glad you brought that up because I feel even people in that demographic, hearing just what you're saying of our bodies are simply vehicles that help us navigate life, right? And when we start to begin to take care of ourselves in ways where we're honoring our body and its capacity,
Hmm.
building that relationship, that internal wisdom that only you know what's best for you, right? Versus there's going to be society and maybe the medical system telling you otherwise. And I really believe in being able to cultivate this relationship as a woman within ourselves. And I think the work you and I do can really help women become so connected to themselves, which has me like ask you the next question. How does acupuncture help women move through menopause and connect better to themselves?
I definitely agree with you, and I'm glad that this is reaching out to people, to women particularly. Just because, yeah, we just
Yeah.
like it's always a wave. I mean, like with our cycles, the wave is like, every month, like there's different parts, and it's not always the same. Sometimes it is, but like we cannot ignore it. And I mean, we can try, but at some point it always catches up to us. So like embracing it instead of fighting it, it's just like really like having these conversations is really good. Yeah.
Mm.
Acupuncture and the Chinese medicine. So a lot of what we get in our Western society, and I don't think it's wrong because there's things that we need, and I think we need to work more together with the Eastern sort of approach.
Yeah.
But acupuncture kind of works right away getting rid of symptoms and rebalancing the body. So when I treat with acupuncture, I'm not just treating, oh, you have hot flashes, so I'm going to treat your hot flashes. I'm looking at the whole person, because you're not just having hot flashes. Like there's a whole system of things that leads to that happening. So it's not just like, oh, the only symptom I have is this. And I'm like, no, your whole internal system is recalibrating. So looking at the system and from a Chinese medicine perspective, and then trying to find balance. So like if something's slightly out of balance, kind of helping make that stronger. And maybe if something's a little bit too far out, bringing it down a little bit. So it can help with the symptoms, but it also kind of works on like preventing it from A, getting worse, and B, from like balancing it for the future as well.
So how, like, in layman terms, for anyone who's listening who maybe isn't in healthcare, like
Mhm.
when you say it works on balancing the system, what
Yeah.
is going on when you in the human body when it is in that balancing
I
mechanism?
think the easiest way to explain it is if our body's like the LA highway system, where like there's all these highways and freeways and everything's just running, and there's traffic jams, and things get stuck. And when things get stuck, that can create heat, that can create tension, that can create stress. Um, and so put the needles in is like taking away the blockage or like the traffic jam. So it's like building a new route for things to go the other direction. So then it opens up and things can flow freely through the body. So that could be the energy, which we call chi, that's blood, like everything. You know, you can feel it sometimes, like when you're really stressed, our shoulders go up. It's just like our bodies are physically tense. And then if you can take a deep breath and use some of the things we have, that helps you relax. And that's sort of like what the acupuncture does.
Yeah, so from what I'm hearing, it is helping the, I'm gonna say probably the nervous system mainly. However, there's probably other systems at play here, especially if the nervous system has a trickle effect on, let's say, circulatory system, lymphatic system. It is helping the body, it's creating the environment for the body to self-heal.
Yes. It definitely isn't just the nervous system. It's for sure you get wonderful joy, like wonderful relaxation from the nervous system, even if it's not what we're focused on, because it releases endorphins into the body and oxytocin. But it does the whole system. So yeah, it does help the all the different regulatory systems kind of re-regulate themselves. But it's you doing the work, like it's the patient doing the work. I'm just sort of providing guidance. If someone doesn't want to heal, I think this goes for Western medicine as well. I don't think you can heal. Like your body has to want to, or somewhere deep in your heart, you have to want to.
I'd love to unpack that a little bit more if you're open to it.
Sure.
So, so when a client comes to you and they'll come to you with their chief complaint, and have, like, when you've worked with a client, has there ever been a client where they came to you and they weren't sure if acupuncture could help them, and you can sense that maybe they weren't ready for healing? And how did you guide them through that?
You never really know if someone's ready for healing, because what people say and how people feel on the like deep in their core is two different things. And what people want to happen in a session and what their bodies are ready for don't always match either. So like it'd be great if you went in and you had like something like acute and we could fix it, but that's actually maybe not a great thing, because if you fix something, your body needs time to adjust to it, and you might go out and injure yourself worse. So it's one of the things where like our bodies naturally know how much we can take, usually. So I think in situations I can't tell for sure. Some people I feel are very resistant, and I don't know why they're there, but you know, like that's their journey, and maybe this is I'm the first step on that journey. And maybe down the road, or maybe I am the journey, and it will help them help their bodies heal. It's sort of one of those things where it's everyone's different. There's no I've never been like, yep, that person is okay. Or you just don't know because it's so complex.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I know it's a bit of a loaded question. It's always
Yeah.
a it depends scenario. And at the end of the day, what I believe is that the person who knows the most about what their body needs is the person living in that body, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah. So when you think about the clients you work with, and you look at how they come to you with a specific thing they want to work through. Acupuncture, it sounds like, is one piece of the puzzle. And in the beginning of this podcast, you mentioned, I'm a pretty self-determined person. So when you think about everything you offer and the results you're determined to get your clients, like, can you walk me through about like more about what that looks like in terms of how you offer a holistic approach to help them?
Do you mean like what other things I suggest that
Yeah,
they should
yeah.
use? Yeah, I think that it's acupuncture is definitely it's 1 hour, maybe once a week if you're lucky. Just sort of like training can maybe be once or twice, and if you're lucky, 3 times a week. So everything else that a person is doing is really important because 99.9% of their lives are outside of seeing me
Yep.
or you. Like, so having, I feel like it just kind of often it gives them like I even feel like this for myself. It kind of just gives me a step above so I can kind of get back on track if I'm off track, or help me like change direction so I can change some things. Like if I'm having insomnia, like creating a better sleep hygiene routine because now I'm more relaxed. I'm not so anxious about going to sleep. And I've got this action plan or some ideas of things I can do to go to sleep before I actually try to do it. And I also, my nervous system and everything feels more relaxed and more balanced. So
Mm.
like it helps get started. So I definitely give lifestyle suggestions. I give food suggestions, mostly from a Chinese medicine perspective. I definitely give stretches and things because if we're collapsing in, we're not breathing, that can cause like so many problems like anxiety right away, like having a collapsed chest in, and we're all on our phones and our computers all the time, so we're all hunching forward. So like right away just being aware of your breath and opening um using I kind of use a little bit of my whole background to find
I
what
love
works,
that.
but also asking my clients what they think would help because everyone, as you said before and I've said now too, they know what they need. Like I think truly deep down people know what they need, so letting them kind of navigate that is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like we get so caught up in life that we forget to be mindful of our postural awareness, right? Or be mindful of, okay, I'm not taking deep breaths. I'm very, I'm chest breathing right now. Or why am I ruminating before bed? Like, what is going on? How can I bring my nervous system down so that I can have a restful sleep? And I think change begins with awareness, and it can be very challenging in a fast-paced life if we have a lot of responsibility to slow down and
Yeah.
say, what do I need, right? Especially as women, right?
Absolutely, because we're just so naturally, and I mean, not everyone, but naturally we're trained in society to look out to everybody and everything else and make sure everything around us is okay. And then we look in. And if you have kids or a family, like that is like 100% the first thing that's going to happen before the looking in. And I think it makes you stronger in all ways if you take that 5 minutes just for yourself, whatever that is, even if that's just sit in the bathroom quietly and just breathe and sort of just like regroup.
I love that. So how do you help women have those perspective shifts in thinking of taking those small moments for themselves if they might be resistant to, they feel like maybe it's too much or too selfish to take time for themselves?
I think most women and most men, if you talk about 5 minutes a day, it's a really good place to start. It doesn't sound like a lot, and it's not that much. And it can be just breathing, it can be meditation. I'm a big advocate for mindfulness, and it doesn't have to be some deep sort of meditation where your mind stops, because I don't really think that's going to happen. And that's not really the point of it unless you're like a Zen monk. So like even just for 5 minutes listening to a meditation like somewhere I know I had one client once who was a teacher, and she would always get overwhelmed and all these symptoms would come after it. And we kind of brainstormed together. I was like, where can you go for 5 minutes and just kind of like breathe and just kind of recenter? And so she found somewhere, I can't remember, I think it was like a closet or something. And she just went in for 5 minutes and she just stayed there for 5 minutes to regroup. And it significantly changed her day.
For sure. And I do feel like that's something to debunk with a lot of people. As you mentioned, when we think about mindfulness, it's not necessarily sitting cross-legged or living a Tibetan monk life, right? I remember I used to work with a dietitian, and we'd go for our team, we'd go for midday walks. And we'd stop talking, and then she'd pause, and then she'd look at the trees and look at like the
Yeah.
bushes and all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just taking a mindful walk. And I was like, it just changed my perspective on walks, because walks are a very forward motion. It's like, let's go to a destination. Rarely do we look left and right, slow down, and take in your surroundings. So I feel like it's all, how do you bring it's interesting. How do you become more mindful to a point where it's almost feels a little bit mindless, like you are just present? I don't know if that makes sense.
I think that's the idea, but I think 5 minutes is a great place. I think five
Yeah.
minutes is where you like, just as you said, looking at the trees. That's mindfulness right there. But most people just need like a carved thing just for a place to start, because going for a walk without having your mind wandering is really hard.
Mm.
Um, I've been meditating for years and my mind is always wandering. Um, I feel very victorious if I catch myself wandering. And
Yeah.
so yeah, 5 minutes of just like sitting there, just sitting with yourself. I mean, that's really what it is, right? Just kind of like stopping.
Hmm.
Even
Yeah.
if the whole time you're thinking about what you need to cook or what you need to do after, it's still sitting and trying to stop for a second. And again, that's not the mind stopping, it's just the body stopping.
Hmm.
There's no
Hmm.
separation for me between your mind and your body. So if your body stops, there's a good chance that your mind will take notice, even if it's just for like a split second.
Mm. Well, I feel like another important component or tool to leverage with mindfulness is understanding the sensations in our body that we might experience, right? And I really do think that's such a beautiful way to build body and mind connection. Um, for instance, you know, almost like over 90% of us aren't breathing as optimally as we possibly, like as we potentially could.
For
Right.
sure.
So just being able to use the most accessible tool we have, if it's not 5 minutes, can we take one deep mindful breath, and can we
Yeah,
see like a before and after of how our body feels as a result? Um, so I think breath work is is
absolutely. Because then right away, when you start breathing, you start opening up your chest and your alignment opens. So that means like your heart and like anxiety just starts to, like, it doesn't mean it's going to go away, but it opens it a little bit. It allows for things to move, because if we're compressed, it's just like energy is stuck. It's just we're physically stuck. So the breath, the breath is always, I mean, that's what keeps us alive. So uh it's connected to everything.
yeah. Oh, there was a good quote I saw. The secret to breathing is the secret to life.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I love that I love that you appreciate Western medicine and then also have such a strong passion for Eastern medicine. I feel like in my chronic pain, mental health journey, I definitely leveraged, or I would say, I shouldn't say leveraged, I gravitated towards the Western healthcare
We do.
system.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's natural. And then I started learning more about energy healing and acupuncture, and I just was moving through things so much faster in terms of my healing. And um when you think about your journey, with understanding Western healthcare and then also Eastern medicine, what can you say you appreciate about both?
Um, I appreciate the holisticness of Eastern medicine. There's no separation at all. So
Mm.
you're coming in for a sore shoulder. I still need to know about your digestion. I still need to know because they're all related. And that feels really, as a woman particularly, that feels really natural to me because like
Oh, I love that.
it like there's never a moment when like I'm just in my mind. Like my body is always, and I men are the same. It's just I think because our bodies go through so much all the time, like physically with our cycles, we feel it differently. I think we're just like more anchored into it. Western medicine, I'm grateful for like all the knowledge and the studies because there's times when you're just like, I need this, like this is going to help this, like you need surgery or you need this, like, but it'd be nice if they could integrate better. Um, because the Chinese medicine does a lot of preventative. It helps so that we don't get to the place where we need to have surgery. It also can help with pain and stop things that are acute, but it really is like working on the whole thing. It works on the symptoms and the root of the problem. Um, but yeah, without Western, I mean, like we need all the science as well. We just need to find a way of making them friends better.
I agree. I love the idea of being able to integrate both because I also feel advances in Western medicine has helped so much in terms of disease or disease prevention, disease management, to some degree. I'm always about what can we do lifestyle perspective, from a
Yeah.
lifestyle approach to best manage um, taking care of ourselves and reducing the risk of disease. What
Hmm.
do you wish more people knew about acupuncture?
Um, Definitely that it doesn't hurt as much as people think. I mean, some people like it's very particular too. If you go to one person, it doesn't work. People are like, "Oh, acupuncture doesn't work," but it's a very subjective medicine. So, like, one person will perceive you in a certain way at that particular moment, and you might go another time and find someone who connects with you a little bit differently, and they'll get it right. And it's just it's amazing what it can do. Um, just a couple needles can just kind of shift things dramatically. Like, yeah. Um, yeah, I think like it's I always have people, everyone tells me they're scared of needles. I'm like, I don't like needles either. Like I would never go to the doctor and get a needle, but I will do acupuncture because uh I know it's going to make me feel better. Like I know there's direct results related to it. So, and it's quite relaxing because once the needles are in, you don't feel anything and you just get to relax and have that hour or whatever that time is to yourself, which is pretty fantastic in this world.
Yeah, I love this. And so if I can share some of my journey,
Hmm.
I've had a couple knee surgeries and I have sciatica and it's well managed. However, I still feel something's off in my body. And I was like, you know what? I haven't tried acupuncture. So I went once a few weeks ago and I'm definitely going again. He looked at my tongue and he's like, your your tongue is swollen. So there's something going on with your kidneys. And then he looked at my feet. Um, and then pointed out things related to, so spleen, I think was one of them,
Yeah.
gallbladder. He checked my pericardium, that meridian, and there was limited flow, he said. And then I closed my eyes and he was just putting needles wherever. And then he put one, I would say on my liver, that liver, like near that area. And Camille, it literally sparked a memory in my body of something traumatic that happened in the past. And then it felt so good, even though it was painful, because it felt like it was being released. It was so
Yeah.
interesting. Can you explain a little bit about, I'm very much like thinking of, sometimes the issues in the tissue are, our emotional state manifests into our, physical pain. It's trapped in our tissues, whatnot, however you want to describe it. Can you explain what was going on in my body for those that are
I
listening?
can't for sure explain what was going on in your body, but I can hypothesize.
Yeah.
Um, well, we have somatic memories and different organs in our body. Um, I don't like using it, but like the Chinese organs, because they're very similar to your physical Western organs, but they're also they include emotions and uh like history. So when you probably got that needle, something that's been holding something in your body, a pattern in your body, which is to protect you.
Mm.
Um, it was released because your body knew, like, it A, stimulated it, and B, it was a safe place for you to release it. And your body knew that. So it's like there has to be that the safe environment. But it's like, as I said, it kind of like it helps the roadblocks pass, as we were talking about the highways
Yes.
before, that like might have taken you a few years more to get to, or maybe not. You don't know. But it was just the right trigger at that point to allow you to let that go, so
Mm.
that you don't have to carry that, and that'll change sort of all the whole highway for you.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Like for even 3 days, my SI joint just felt more free. Um, I felt lighter, and
Mhm.
it just felt like that memory from the past held less power over me. And I like what you said about my body was ready to release it. And I think for anyone listening to this, it's so important what Camille said earlier of like, going to a healthcare provider thinking that you're ready to heal. Sometimes we really don't know. Like, I didn't know what to expect in that session, and I'm there crying, and so much is coming up for me. It felt so good, and I did not expect that to happen. So, that was my first encounter. It could have gone sideways too, of, that did nothing for me. So I think this really highlights the importance of giving it a fair chance. And maybe that's the next question I'll ask you. Like, what does giving it a fair chance look like for someone who's interested in acupuncture?
The first thing I would say is trust your gut. So if you go to someone or you start talking to someone and you're like, like that doesn't feel right, just try somebody else.
Yeah.
Because like doesn't mean that person isn't good at what they do. It's just it is still a connection energetically. So that person tapped in and really was able to connect to you and do the right points that were able to help you let go. Like it was like it sounds like it was a really good connection. And maybe it won't be next time. It's hard to know. Um,
Yeah.
but giving a fair chance with acupuncture is like if you go in with, say, pretty much anything, you have to go at least 3 times. I'd say 4 to
Okay.
give it a chance to see where it goes. Because if you take antibiotics, if you take them once, they're not going to do anything. Like you just assume when you take antibiotics, you take them for as long as the doctor said. So if
Yeah.
someone says come in for a year, I'd walk away. But if they're saying like come in 3, 4 times and let's see how you feel. Because nobody really knows where this is going. It's an adventure between the two of you. So seeing where it takes you, you might be okay, where maybe you just need to come in once in a while after that, or maybe you're like, I need to work a little bit more for now.
Mm,
And it really depends what it is too. Like with menopause stuff, sometimes it takes like 4 to 6 sessions to kind of get everything kind of recalibrated, rebalanced, as I was saying, like sort of get like to a point where they feel relaxed and the symptoms have gone down, and then like whenever it is that they need to come back after that. But you
yeah.
have to give it a couple try. Like you have to give it a couple goes. One time is not
Yeah.
enough.
For sure. And when you say 4 to 6 times for someone in peri or menopause, is that weekly, bi-weekly? Does that matter?
I would say once a week, unless like hot flashes or something like that's like really severe, or the insomnia or the anxiety is really severe. Then coming sometimes twice a week, but that's still something there's no format there. Like it has to A, work for the person who's coming, and B, the other person, like the practitioner, needs to like be like, yeah, you need to come a little bit more, but twice a week is usually a lot. because
Mhm.
you're kind of rerouting things. So your body needs some time to rest. It's like workout. Like if you work out every day, your body never gets time to assimilate what you've done. Like
Yeah.
you kind of need to stop. And as women, like that's something that we really like. I think we do really well when we are given the opportunity to do it. Just kind of let our bodies go, oh, something's happening.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that you made a mark there on building self-trust and letting the body lead. Because I think about, so the acupuncturist, recommended once a week, and I was like, I feel like I need time to integrate. Like that was a lot, right? So, and he was so supportive. Um, and I really, for anyone listening to this, I think this is such an important message. We can receive recommendations on the frequency of meeting. Like, I feel like there's really no pressure to commit to a specific frequency. Give
No.
yourself space, a week, two, a month, to really feel, is my body ready to go for another treatment? Does it feel right? Because that's going to actually affect how well you receive the treatment at the end of the day.
Also financially, Michelle, it's
Yeah.
important to take that in. Like if this is like a big thing that you're investing in and it's stressing you out to go that often because like it's really taking from other areas of your life, then twice a week, twice a month, or whatever is like you gotta, it has to be something that's actually gonna benefit you. And that's where the negotiating. So once a week or twice a week, whatever, is a suggestion, but it's really gotta be what works for each and every person. And that's different depending on your circumstances.
Yes, I love that you said that. It's always working within our capacity, whether that means, financial, personal capacity, whatever that means for that person. Um, this has been great, Camille. I know we're at time now. If you were to leave anyone who's listening to this with one empowering message around what we're talking about, perimenopause, menopause, what would you want to leave the audience today?
Hmm. I would say that it's a time to really like get to know yourself better and really embrace your power instead
Mhm.
of feeling like you're losing something. I think it's really like you can step into your power fully.
That is
And there's a
beautiful.
lot of help out there, a lot of help.
Thankfully, yeah, things are definitely heading in a direction where we're speaking more about these conversations, and menopause entering the school curriculum even more deeply. There's all these little pivots that are being made, and I love what you said about stepping into your power. I actually learned this weekend that the only other animal on the planet, and I have to fact check this, so for those of you listening, maybe take a grain of salt. Apparently, killer whales are the only animal that experiences menopause.
Yeah, that's
And
what I heard too. I heard the
yeah,
same, I heard it on a podcast this weekend, the same thing that we're the only two uh species alive that actually have menopause, which means that it's a really cool thing that means that we don't need to be in child productive ages because they need women to do things that can't be taken care of by the rest of society, which is so cool. Like
oh
so like
yeah.
it's like we're not just here to have babies and then like okay, you have no value anymore. It's like okay, so the women now can like take over other roles, and as you know we grow as a society, hopefully that will continue.
Yes, I'm so glad you listened to that this weekend, and we're ending off that way because that's very much now the killer whales who are, and humans who are no longer able to procreate. They have a different role. They're actually guides and mentors for the fertile, you know, other creatures out there. So I just think that's such a, like, nature can teach us a lot about how we can operate as humans and take the complexities of being a woman and living in a woman's body and break it down into something that is so beautiful and something that we can embrace with empowerment, just as you said. So, Camille, I really want to thank you today for carving out your some time in your day and having your cat and dog join us for this conversation. I love your wisdom. I love the work that you do. And if people want to get in touch with you, where can they connect?
I'm online, adelicatebalance.ca. So that's delicatebalance.ca. And from there, yeah, I do online herbal consults, though I don't do online acupuncture. And I'm right down in the center of Toronto, so I'm pretty easy to get to if you are in Toronto.
Oh, awesome. Also, she's on Instagram at a delicate practice. Delicate
Balance acupuncture.
acupuncture. Yes. Yes, as well, if you want to check her out online.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Camille. We'll definitely continue to keep in touch. And for those of you who are listening, if anything resonated with you, I know Camille and I would be more than welcome, more than excited actually to hear from you. If anything helped you shift
Absolutely.
your way of thinking.
Yay.
Awesome. All right.